Hello, friends, and welcome into another weekly update from our team here at NC Family. I'm Mitch, joined by John and Jerry, and this is the week ending Friday, June the 26th. I'm going to say it again. A lot has happened this week. A lot has happened this week, sincerely, and we've got a lot to get to, so buckle up. We're going to move very quickly and get to the details of this week. John, this past Tuesday evening, there was a vote in southeastern North Carolina, specifically the Lumbee Tribe voted not on whether to have casinos or not, but it was a step toward casinos. John, tell us how the people there in the Lumbee Tribe voted.
Well, this was really fascinating, Mitch. The Lumbee Tribe, of course, got full federal recognition from the U.S. Congress last December, and one of the things that is inherent with, one of the rights that's inherent with full federal recognition is the right for federally recognized Indian tribes to have gambling operations. They have to negotiate it in a compact with the state, those types of things. But the Lumbee, after decades of fighting and working to get full federal recognition, obtained that last December. They had a tribal vote this past Tuesday to approve or disapprove of some amendments to their tribal constitution that would essentially pave the way for the tribe to enter into negotiations for a massive gambling casino development along the I-95 corridor in eastern North Carolina. Quite surprisingly, I would say, the tribe actually voted down the amendments to their tribal constitution by 62%.
Yes.
And these were voting members of the tribe, only tribal members who were eligible to vote. And it ended up being about 9,000 members of the tribe who actually cast votes. There were 21 voting districts, special districts that were set up for this special vote. And the measure actually failed in each and every one of those 21 districts, yes, which is quite significant. And so the tribal members basically said no. Now, I will say there were certainly some tribal members who said no to gambling. They did not want gambling because of the moral implications, the harms that it would bring to individuals, families, and communities in that area. There are other members of the tribe who voted no because they didn't like procedurally how these changes to the tribal constitution would change the governance of the tribe and essentially appoint the tribal chairman as the negotiator for gambling between the tribe and the state of North Carolina. And so there were lots of different factors at play, lots of different dynamics at play, but the bottom line is that the tribal members rejected a proposal that would have clearly paved the way for this massive gambling complex in eastern North Carolina.
Absolutely. If you want more details about this, John has written a story. It's linked below this video. You can learn more about that. I will also say this. We're recording this on Thursday, the 25th of June, and the Lumbee Tribe has called a special emergency meeting tonight to go over the next steps of where they go from here. So we'll keep you up to date with details as they progress through this process.
And I'll just say, Mitch, that this vote has not stopped
right.
the pursuit of gambling by the tribe in North Carolina. We feel quite certain that that is going to continue, but it probably, I would say, fairly significantly pumped the brakes on these efforts. And so we will just have to watch very carefully, remain vigilant. We're going to continue, as we did throughout this process, work to educate members of the tribe and the people of eastern North Carolina especially about the harms of casinos and predatory gambling on individuals, families, and communities, and just all the impacts that would have on our state.
Absolutely. Jerry, there was a pretty busy day Wednesday at the General Assembly. We've been waiting on these veto overrides for quite some time, and five of the vetoes, there were five vetoes on the House calendar. Four of those were overridden on Wednesday of this past week. 3 Senate bills, 1 House bill. Really what happened, I think, is those 3 unaffiliated members chose not to vote. And so
except one of them, I guess one did.
One did.
Okay. He did vote against. But anyway, but you're right, because there were 2 of those 3 chose not
Yes.
vote.
One of those bills was the North Carolina Border Protection Act. That was a Senate bill. It has now become law. It's been overridden, and it is on its way to becoming law. The one House bill, equality in state agencies prohibiting DEI, that's now back over to the Senate. But the other two were Senate bills the House overrode, eliminating DEI in public education and public higher education. Jerry, tell us more about these veto overrides.
Well, one big thing was the dynamic you're talking about is it was on the calendar for weeks, maybe months. And it was interesting. Yesterday, some people they didn't allow full debate on it. What they did is what they do when they call a question, it means that each side gets to present 3 minutes. And I think the speaker was generous with those. It was much more than 3 minutes. But he made the point, he said, we've debated these bills thoroughly. And our rules allow for this to happen. They weren't doing something different from what the rules allowed for. And he was very strong and gracious, and I think what happened was a great surprise. I don't think anybody, except maybe some people, knew the dynamics, because we knew there were three members, we've talked about this before, who are had been Democrats, who were defeated in the primaries recently. And so, as you say, two of those three, they're now unaffiliated, chose not to vote. One, who is unaffiliated, did vote no on those. But what that did is it made the final vote, and again, we get into the details, but it's interesting. You always joke about the math.
Yeah.
Here it's critical.
Mm-hmm. It is.
Absolutely.
It was 71 to 47.
On every one of them.
On every one of them, because it has to be 60% of the members present and voting.
Yes.
And so by two of the members not voting, it allowed that to be exactly 60% with the vote that happened.
Well, and there are 71 members in the Republican caucus in the House, so they've got a majority, but just are one seat shy of a supermajority. Right. And so the Republicans, in and of themselves, if all members are there, don't have the votes to override a governor's veto. But if Democrats on the other side of the aisle or unaffiliated members now are not present, then that changes the percentages, and this is what happened.
Yeah. And I know you said, as far as we've discussed each of these bills, the DEI, the whole issue, and I hesitate to try to give a good overview, but I guess this is kind of the understanding I have gleaned from all the debate leading up to yesterday, and including what I heard yesterday, is the concepts of like diversity and inclusion are in and of themselves, that's not a problem. How do you apply those? And from what I kind of take from where things have gone, and they get into specifics, what has happened in state government as far as hiring practice, what's happening in our educational institutions, kindergarten through 12th grade.
Books and curriculum.
And higher education with colleges and universities.
Yes.
And they have lots of evidence of, as far as the educational aspect of it, specific curriculum, or curricula would be the plural, because it wasn't just one.
Right.
Examples of where language is actually in the curriculum, there are titles, there's content that says things like, if you're a certain race, you're an oppressor, if you're another race, you're oppressed. And we all are trying to move away from that to understand, no, God, back to what we've been talking about this year, that our founding principles, all are created equal. So government should not, and our educational institutions should not be part of creating an environment where we're making, and I don't mean making, but encouraging people to think differently and say, no, we're not all created equal, we got to do this and that. So it was a very emotional day with with the debate that did happen. But hopefully this is a way our state can move forward in a positive way and not have these elements in our educational system, in our government system as far as hiring practices. And so hopefully, a step in a good direction.
Absolutely. Well, very briefly, we want to give you an update on 4 other bills that we've been tracking. HB 83, inappropriate materials distributed to minors. The House concurred with the Senate changes to that bill. It is now sitting, as of the recording of this video, sitting on the governor's desk, awaiting his signature. So we'll keep you up to date if he signs that, when he signs that, if he vetoes it, and then the process for that. Another bill that we've let you know a lot about is House Bill 301, social media protections for minors with AI instruction that's been included by the Senate. The House did not concur with the Senate's changes to that bill. Senate conferees and House conferees have been appointed for that bill, I believe, and so we'll let you know as the conference meets and gives us a report on what they've come up with. Jerry, House Bill 328, regulation of hemp-derived consumable products. This was kind of a update of as of yesterday, Wednesday of this week. The House and the Senate have appointed conferees to meet on this bill as well. So what do we need to know about House Bill 328 in the conference report, gentlemen?
Well, let's hope and pray that this is a step in the right direction. Yes. I mean, everybody has agreed that something needs to be done, but there's been a difference on the House and Senate side about exactly what needs to be done, how to do it. These products that are out there in these a number of the businesses, no, they're not tested, not labeled properly, and we've heard
and very harmful.
Yeah,
very harmful.
Absolutely.
I mean, there's the one. I guess the one we mentioned this before. One story right in Wake County a little while back, where they went to a distribution facility and over 1,000 pounds of products, many of them with illegal levels of THC,
sure,
mislabeled, and people are going. Most recently, we reported on the House side, they passed a bill that say, no, you can't make these available for people under 21. Right. We're going, wait, if it's hurting people under 21, it's also hurting people over 21. So I'm hopeful that this conference committee will come together and agree, y'all, these products are hurting a lot of people, and we need to do something now and not delay even longer.
Absolutely.
And there have been, I can't recall how many different bills in the House and the Senate dealing with this subject matter.
At least half a dozen.
In various different forms, yes, that are seeking to do good things, but there also can be problematic because, if it regulates it and makes it criminal to sell and distribute to those under 21, but it doesn't do the same thing for those over, then it essentially legalizes it. And so there are lots of different people who are coming at this from lots of different perspectives and trying to figure out the best way to move forward. And as you said, Jerry and Mitch, we're very hopeful and prayerful that this conference committee on this bill will take the best of what's out there and consider what is in the best interest of all the citizens of the state and act and put something very good together. Right. Now, these conference committees, there are members of the Senate and members of the House that are appointed to basically iron out differences between the two chambers' versions of these bills. And so they kind of can be open to a lot of different considerations and different subject matter and factors. So, and a lot of the discussions with conference reports and conference committees are done behind closed doors. Yes. And so we're going to continue to work to provide insight and education and encouragement for legislators to do the right thing on this issue, but time will tell what happens with it.
One last bill, HB 198, the ABC Omnibus Bill as it's become known. The House doesn't concur with Senate changes. The House then appoints conferees, but the Senate has not yet done so. As of the recording of this video, the Senate hasn't appointed conferees. We were very grateful for some of the changes that the Senate made to this bill. The House rejected those changes. John, where do you see this going?
Yet to be seen.
Yes.
Hopefully in a good direction. The House has its version of this ABC Omnibus Bill. The Senate has their version. Again, the Senate passed their version, which was a House bill that they amended, sent it back to the House. The House said, no, we're not going to agree with the Senate changes. That doesn't mean that they won't ultimately agree with the Senate changes. It just means that they want to have a conference committee appointed and again, iron out differences between the House version and the Senate versions of these bills. And so we'll see what happens. One of the issues that we have talked about in prior reports that we were very concerned about in this bill, well, two big provisions. One, that would allow ABC stores to sell liquor on Sundays, yes, which is currently not allowed in the state. That provision had been removed from the bill, which was good. And also a provision that would allow an untold number of nonprofit casino gambling nights to take place in the state. That provision was removed in the Senate, which we were very grateful for. And so all these things are in contention in the conference discussion process. And so we will continue to see how this moves forward as this conference committee, well, the Senate appoints conferees and then they start meeting and ironing out differences.
Absolutely.
As y'all are hearing, a lot of activity right now. One final note, I know we had heard yesterday, the Speaker Hall indicated this next week for the members to count on the possibility of voting Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, and mention the word budget, that may be something that's going to happen. So that's, again, something to be prayerful about, that they will work out whatever those differences are, and possibly even next week resolve that.
We won't spend any time giving you the rumors that we hear in the building. There are plenty of other good sources for that, but I think there is positive traction moving forward toward the potential for the announcement, maybe a budget.
Possibly.
So we'll keep you up to date on that. Lastly, gentlemen, a report from our Raleigh dinner guest, Andrew Ferguson, the chairman of the Federal Trade Commission, and other states have sued WPATH. Let us know what we need to know about what's happened.
Well, there's a story linked to under the video, which
is.
we would direct you to, but this, as Andrew Ferguson shared at our Raleigh dinner, the Federal Trade Commission is exploring, and more than exploring now, but is actually suing the WPATH for the promotion of gender transition surgeries and the administration of puberty blockers and cross-sex hormones on minors. They are going after this effort. This was something that I think Chairman Ferguson hinted at at our dinner event, that some big breaking news was going to be taking place. Again, we've got more details about that.
Yes.
Just in consideration of our viewers' time. But definitely check out, if you haven't seen that article already from NC Family, check that out under the video about what the Federal Trade Commission and these other states are doing to fundamentally protect the interest of children and families in our country.
Right. And I would see this, big picture-wise, as a very encouraging development. I think we all need accountability, and I don't want to say it too negatively, but it happens within any profession. But within the medical profession, what this points to is what has been promoted by this highly respected group, is that they weren't basing their decisions on medical and scientific evidence. It was, and they'll say it's political, the political perspective was driving what was happening, and in this case with minors.
Yes.
And so hopefully this accountability will cause people to think, no, whatever people believe, we need to base in every area decisions on facts and truth, especially when it comes to people's physical and mental health.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, again, a lot to get to this week. We've covered a lot. All the details can be found at ncfamily.org or in the links below this video. On behalf of John, Jerry, and the rest of our team here at North Carolina Family Policy Council, we are so grateful for you, not just for watching this video, but for your partnership, for your time, attention, effort, and your generosity toward our organization as we continue to strive to make sure that North Carolina and our nation are truly places where God is honored, religious freedom flourishes, families thrive, and life is cherished. So thank you for watching this weekly update video. We hope that you have a wonderful weekend. And gentlemen, I must say, go Team USA in the World Cup. God bless all of you, and we hope that you have a great weekend.